Hey everybody, this is the second video for the pre-break work package. If you are following along from class, if you are not and you are just trying to brush up on your math skills, you can find this worksheet here at CUDA Software online. You can Google it. Actually, this is under the algebra section, not the pre-algebra section, and it is the distributive property worksheet. Gives you the worksheet and the answers. Otherwise, you can find it in the link below. Okay, so getting right into this, basic skills review. So we're looking at distributive property, which means you're going to distribute this term here on the outside by each term separately inside these parentheses. So what are some of the things we want to look out for? Well, here, what is in front of the number? The sign is always in front of the number, so there's no negative sign here, so we assume that's a positive 6 times a positive 1. So it's 6 times 1. Then we also have positive 6 times a negative 5. So when I put those together, I have 6 times 1 is 6, and 6 times negative 5 is a negative 30. Now, if you notice, there's something I did not add here, which was this m. So that's 6 times negative 5m. I wanted to put that on in the last minute to show you first what we do with these terms, constants, and coefficients here. So how that looks when we translate over to number 2. So number 2, we have a negative outside the parentheses here. So we have negative 2 times a positive 1 and negative 2 times a negative 5v. Now, on this one, I'm going to write the steps out again and I'll show you here. So, negative 2 times 1, and then again, negative 2 times, and this time I'm going to include that v, negative 5v. So these were together first. Negative 2 times 1 is a negative 2, because a negative times a positive is still a negative. However, in this case, I have a negative 2 times a negative 5. We have the two negatives. It's going to give me a positive. That's the rule. And again, this is review. So 2 times 5 is 10, and we keep that v. Right? So you may have seen in previous videos, and you say, well, how come the v can combine, negative 5v can combine with negative 2 if 2 does not have a variable? But when you multiply or divide, you can combine these variables. Only when you're multiplying and dividing if you have a constant and a variable expression. Okay? When you're adding and subtracting, you cannot, moving around here. When you're adding and subtracting, you cannot combine them unless they are like terms. So if you were thinking that, then you were thinking correct. The next one that I want to move on to here is going to be down here at number 6. So the reason I want to go on to number 6 is because look at this funky thing. We have a negative on the outside, then double negatives here on the inside. Well, if you see only a negative, you can consider that to be a negative 1. So we have negative 1. Negative 1 times negative 2, and then negative 1 times negative n. Those are the two terms. So that one can look intimidating just because of all those negatives and lack of numbers. Well, here, double negative, 1 times 2 is going to give me positive 2. And then a negative 1 times negative n. And again, there's no coefficient in front of that variable n. I can assume it to be a 1. Negative 1 times negative 1 is positive 1. So I'll call that plus 1n, two-term answer. So I hope that helps. You can continue on with this page. And let's see what else we have down here further, if there's any other things to show. Yeah, so down here, further down the page, it doesn't matter where the term is outside the parentheses, if it's in front of the parentheses or behind the parentheses. Don't let that trip you up. It's still the same process. So, good luck and try your best.